My wife told me to back off and give her the space she needed and promised she'd contact me on her terms. So I took myself off her radar completely. 7 weeks later, she showed up at my office, shaking, asking why she'd just been served divorce papers. Hey, Reddit. My wife snapped at me, saying she needed space and telling me not to contact her. So I did exactly what she asked and gave her permanent space. She didn't take that well. Grab your popcorn and enjoy this clusterfuck. Name's Andrew, 33 male. Abby and I had been together for 5 years, married for 3. The first 2 years were good. Really good, actually. We laughed, we traveled, we built something that felt solid. Then somewhere around year 3, things started shifting. I couldn't tell you exactly when it happened, but by the time I noticed, the woman I married had become someone I barely recognized. She had been different for months, colder, more critical. Everything I did was wrong somehow. Dinner too early. Dinner was too late. Why didn't I text her back within 30 seconds? Why was I texting her so much? The goalposts moved daily, and I was always offsides. Little things started adding up. She'd sigh whenever I walked into a room, roll her eyes at my jokes, make these little comments about my clothes, my hobbies, the way I loaded the dishwasher. Nothing big enough to fight about individually, but it just wore me down over time. Her best friend Monica had been coming around a lot more lately too, 3, 4 times a week. They'd disappear into our bedroom to talk in whispers, and whenever I walked past, the conversation would stop dead. Monica would give me this look. Never liked me from day one, and the feeling was mutual. Monica was one of those people who fed off other people's drama, always complaining about her ex, always talking about how women needed to stand up for themselves. She was bitter and wanted everyone else to be bitter too. I'd seen her mess up at least 2 other marriages just by whispering in the wife's ear. Should have recognized the pattern when she started working on mine. But I didn't see the end coming. Not that Tuesday evening. Not like that. The fight started around 7:30. I'd checked Abby's calendar app to see if she had plans that night because I wanted to book a table at Marino's. That place downtown she'd been posting about on her Instagram for weeks. Hint, hint, she'd captioned one photo. Real subtle. So there I was, trying to surprise my wife with a nice dinner at a restaurant she literally asked me to take her to, and she walked into the living room and saw my phone on the coffee table with her calendar pulled up. You would have thought I'd hacked into government databases. What are you doing with my calendar? Her voice had that edge. The one that meant the next 2 hours of my life were about to be miserable regardless of what I said. I explained about the dinner reservation. She didn't care. Didn't even let me finish the sentence. What followed was 20 minutes of accusations. I was controlling. I was monitoring her. I was suffocating her. I didn't trust her. I needed to know her every movement. She needed space. She couldn't breathe. Monica was right about me. That last part caught my attention. Monica was right about what exactly? Abby wouldn't elaborate, just kept circling back to how she couldn't do this anymore, how she needed real space, how she was going to stay with Monica for a while. She said it like she was doing me a favor. That's when I noticed the overnight bag by the door, already packed, laptop case beside it, car keys in her hand, phone charger coiled neatly on top. She'd planned this. The calendar thing was just an excuse she'd been waiting for. Probably rehearsed the whole scene with Monica beforehand. Don't call me. Don't text me. Just don't. She said it like she was reading off a script, like she'd practiced it. Probably had. I'll contact you when I'm ready. On my terms. The door closed at 7:50 p.m. I stood there for a minute, staring at the spot where she'd been standing, half expecting her to come back through and say she'd overreacted, that we could talk this through like adults. She didn't. The apartment felt different immediately. Not emptier exactly. Just quieter in a way that made me realize how loud things had been. How much energy I'd been spending managing her moods. Trying not to set her off. Thinking through every word before I said it. I slept on the couch that night. Woke up at 3 a.m. and checked my phone out of habit. Nothing from her. Spent the next hour replaying the fight in my head. Trying to figure out what triggered it. Then I realized something. I wasn't trying to figure out what I did wrong. I was trying to figure out why I'd put up with this garbage for so long. Wednesday morning, I went through the motions. Got to work on autopilot. I'm a senior network engineer at a data center in the warehouse district. Good money. Boring work. The kind of job where you can disappear into server rooms for hours and nobody bothers you. Around lunch, I sent Abby one text. Just checking in, making sure she was okay, asking if we could talk. Her response came 2 hours later. I told you not to contact me. I meant it. Back off. I typed back something neutral. Said I understood. 5 minutes later, another text. You never listen. This is exactly the problem. Just stop. She told me not to contact her. I did anyway, once because I was worried about my wife, and now she was using that single text as proof that I don't listen. Fine. There's this moment when you stop trying to figure out what you did wrong and realize maybe you didn't do anything wrong at all. Maybe the problem was never you. Maybe you'd spent years apologizing for stuff that didn't need apologies. That click happened right there in the server room, staring at my phone with the hum of cooling fans drowning out everything else. She wanted me to back off? I'd back off so far she'd need a telescope to find me. That evening, I sat on the couch and opened my phone settings. The apartment was quiet. No TV playing in the background because Abby wasn't here to complain about what I wanted to watch. Just silence and the distant sound of traffic. One by one, I made changes. Notifications from her number. Off. Completely. Text would still come through, but silently. Location sharing. We'd had Find My Friends active for 2 years. She insisted on it early in our marriage because she said it made her feel safe. Funny how she could track my every move and that was fine. But me checking a calendar to plan dinner made me controlling. I disabled it completely. She could no longer track my every move. Favorites list. Her name sat at the top where it had been since we started dating. Removed. Emergency contacts. Wife. Abby was listed first. Changed it to my buddy Kai. We'd been friends since college. He was an electrician with his own business, divorced twice, and had zero filter on his opinions. Instagram. I unfollowed. Stopped her posts from appearing in my feed. Read receipts. Turned off specifically for her number. She wouldn't know when I'd seen her messages anymore. When I finished, I set the phone down and let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. Thursday morning, I made myself a full breakfast. Abby always had something to say about what I ate. Too much cholesterol. Too heavy in the morning. Why don't you just have yogurt like a normal person? I ate every bite and felt great. At work, I ran into Kai in the parking garage. He worked in the building next door, running cable for some new office build-out. Saw my face and immediately knew something was up. "Dude, you look like someone lifted a weight off your shoulders or something," he said. I told him Abby left. Gave him the short version. He nodded. "So, you're telling me the woman who made you skip my birthday party 3 years in a row because she had a headache finally showed herself out?" That's one way to put it. I'll put it another way. Thank God. He clapped me on the shoulder. "First round of wings is on me this weekend. We're celebrating." Kai had never liked Abby. Never said it outright while we were married, but I knew. The way he'd go quiet when she was around. The way he'd find excuses to leave early whenever she showed up. The man wasn't subtle. He was also the funniest person I knew, in that completely inappropriate way that makes HR departments nervous. 2 divorces under his belt, ran his own electrical contracting business, and somehow managed to be the happiest guy in any room. His philosophy was simple. Life's too short to spend it with people who make you miserable. I was starting to understand what he meant. Friday evening, my phone buzzed. Text from another old friend, Warren. I hadn't heard from him in almost 2 years. We used to play basketball together at the rec center every Sunday before I got married. Heard through the grapevine you might be single again. Pickup game tomorrow, 10 a.m. Be there or don't, but you're missing out. I started typing my usual response. Can't, sorry. Then stopped. Why couldn't I? Deleted my response. Typed a new one. I'll be there. His reply was immediate. No way. I'm screenshotting this for proof. Warren was the opposite of Kai in almost every way. Quiet. Thoughtful. Worked as a paralegal at a family law firm downtown. The kind of guy who always had information before anyone else, because he knew people who knew people. Turned out Kai had mentioned my situation to him earlier that week. He'd seen me slowly disappear over the past 3 years and never said anything directly. Saturday morning, I showed up at the rec center. Warren was already there with 4 other guys. He saw me walk in and his face split into a huge grin. Look who finally showed up. He grabbed me in a bear hug. 2 years, man. 2 years you ghosted us. I kept it vague. Said life got complicated. We played for 2 hours. I was rusty, but muscle memory kicked in fast. The familiar burn in my legs. The satisfying swish of a good shot. The trash talk. The laughing. The way you forget about everything else when you're competing. I missed a lot of shots that would have been easy 3 years ago, but nobody cared. Afterward, someone suggested lunch. I said yes without thinking about it. We ended up at a burger joint near the beach. 6 guys crammed into a booth, talking garbage and eating like we were still 20. Warren asked what really happened, why I disappeared. I told him the truth. Got married. My wife didn't like my friends, so I stopped seeing my friends. The table went quiet for a second. Then Kai, who joined us after finishing a job, said what everyone was thinking. Bro, that's not a wife. That's a prison guard. We all laughed. Warren raised his drink. To getting your life back. I realized at some point that I hadn't thought about Abby for 3 straight hours. Hadn't checked my phone. Hadn't wondered what she was doing. I'd just been there, in the moment, actually enjoying myself for the first time in longer than I could remember. Sunday evening, I sat down at my kitchen table with a legal pad and a pen. Time to get my ducks in a row. The first thing I did was pull up our joint bank account on my laptop. We had about $22,000 in there combined. Our savings account had another $18,000. My separate checking account, the one where my paychecks got deposited before I transferred money to joint, had about $6,000. I didn't touch any of it yet. Wasn't stupid. Moving money around before talking to a lawyer would look bad. But I documented everything. Screenshot after screenshot. Transaction history, account balances, dates and amounts. Created a folder on my laptop called Records and started filling it. Then I went through our apartment. We'd bought most of the furniture together, but there were things that were clearly mine. My grandfather's watch, my camera equipment, the signed basketball from the '98 championship game that my dad gave me before he passed, some fishing gear. I photographed everything, made a list, noted what was mine before the marriage, what we'd bought together, what was hers, serial numbers were applicable, purchase dates, everything documented like I was prepping for an audit. Monday morning, I called a divorce attorney, guy named Reginald. Kai had used him for both his divorces and said he was worth every penny. Direct, efficient, didn't waste time on feelings, just got the job done. Got an appointment for Thursday. At work, things felt easier. Wasn't distracted, just focused on the job in front of me. Tuesday, I started separating our digital lives. Changed passwords on everything, every subscription service we shared. Changed them all to new passwords she couldn't guess. Redirected my important mail to a P.O. box I set up near work. Didn't want divorce papers or legal correspondence showing up at the apartment where Abby might intercept them if she came back for her stuff. Or worse, Monica. She still had that spare key Abby had given her. Wouldn't put it past either of them to check in and snoop around. Wednesday evening, Kai came over to help me inventory the apartment. He walked through every room with a clipboard while I took photos and videos. "This couch," he said, kicking it. "This is the couch where she made you watch all 7 seasons of that terrible baking show. It's a comfortable couch. It's a cursed couch. You should burn it. Have some kind of ritual. Maybe get a priest involved." He wasn't entirely wrong, but the couch was staying. I'd paid for it. We documented everything, every piece of furniture, every appliance, every decorative item she'd insisted we needed, and then never looked at again. The apartment looked like an insurance claim investigation by the time we finished. Kai cracked open a can of soda and looked around. "You know what's weird? This place already feels different. Less like a museum where you're not allowed to touch anything." He was right. Thursday morning, I met with Reginald. The man himself was exactly what Kai described. Mid-50s, gray temples. I laid out the situation. Wife left 10 days ago. Told me not to contact her. Haven't heard from her since except through her friends trying to guilt me. Her best friend had been filling her head with garbage for months before that. I wanted to know my options. He listened without interrupting. Took notes. Asked questions. How long married? Combined assets. Any kids? Property owned versus rented. He asked about assets. I showed him my documentation, the screenshots, the photographs, the inventory lists. He looked genuinely impressed. "This is thorough," he said. "Most people come in here with nothing but hurt feelings and fuzzy memories of what they own. You could teach a class on this." I told him I liked to be prepared. We discussed timeline. I could file immediately, but he recommended waiting another week or two. Let her get comfortable in her little separation bubble. Let her think I was at home feeling sorry for myself, waiting for her call. Then serve her and watch everything fall apart. I left his office with a retainer agreement signed, a follow-up appointment scheduled, and a plan in place. $1,500 up front, with the rest billed hourly. Worth every penny if it meant getting out clean. On my way home, I stopped at the rec center. Warren was there, running drills with some kids from the youth league he coached. He waved me over. "You look like a guy who knows what he's doing," he said. Getting there. He bounced the ball to me. "Whatever's going on, just make sure you've got everything documented. Trust me on that one." Warren knew exactly how these things worked from the inside. Probably seen 100 marriages fall apart across his desk. I took the shot. Swish. First one I'd made all week. "Still got it," Warren said. "Never lost it. Just forgot where I put it." 3 weeks after Abby left, and my life looked completely different. The lawyer had said to wait before filing. So I used the time to rebuild instead of sitting around moping about what I'd lost. I'd rejoined the rec league basketball team. Games every Wednesday night. We were terrible. Lost more than we won, but it didn't matter. The guys made it worth it. Bunch of dudes in their 30s pretending we were still 20, trash talking like we got paid for it, and icing our knees afterward like old men. Started hitting the gym again, too. Used to go religiously before I got married. Abby didn't like me spending time there. Said it was vain. Said I was trying to impress other women. Said she didn't understand why I needed to be anywhere but home with her. Easier to just stop going than fight about it every single time. Now I was back, 5 days a week, early mornings before work. My body started changing within weeks. Lost the softness around my middle. Shoulders and arms filled out again. Slept like a rock every night. That good kind of tired that comes from actually using your body. Picked up photography again, too. Used to love it. Had a decent camera collecting dust in the closet for 3 years. Now I was shooting sunrises at the waterfront before work, editing photos on weekend mornings at coffee shops. Small thing, but it felt like getting a piece of myself back. At work, my boss Nathan called me into his office. Said my performance the past few weeks had been really strong. Productivity up 20%, error rate down to almost zero. He was recommending me for the senior network architect position that had opened up. 40% raise. Team leadership role. I thanked him. Tried not to laugh at the irony. My wife leaves and suddenly my career takes off. Meanwhile, her friends started calling. First was Monica herself. She called on a Wednesday evening while I was making dinner. I let it go to voicemail. Didn't listen to the message. Didn't need to. Whatever she wanted to say was guaranteed to be garbage with a guilt trip on the side. She texted the next day. Abby is really hurting. The least you could do is reach out. She misses you. I didn't respond. Let the message sit there unread. 2 days later, another text. You're being childish. Adults communicate. This is exactly why she left. Still didn't respond. Kai asked if I wanted him to text back something inappropriate. I told him to save it for later. Friday, Abby's mom called. Beth had always been nice to me. Brought us casseroles when we first got married. Sent birthday cards with $20 bills inside like I was still 12 years old. Traditional mom stuff. She genuinely seemed to like me, which made me feel a little bad about what was coming. Honey, I don't know what happened between you two, but Abby is beside herself. She's staying with that Monica girl and crying every night. Won't you please just call her? I kept my voice even. Told Beth that Abby specifically told me not to contact her. I was respecting her wishes. Long pause. But surely you could just check in once? She didn't really mean it. She was pretty clear about it. I'm just giving her what she asked for. Beth didn't know what to say to that. Neither did I, really. We ended the call awkwardly. Probably the last real conversation I'd ever have with her. The next week, Monica's boyfriend called. Some finance guy named Zach, who I'd met maybe twice at parties. Always wore expensive watches and talked about his portfolio like anyone cared. He started giving me advice about relationships like we were old friends. Said I needed to be the bigger person. Said real men fight for their marriages. I asked him how long they'd been coaching Abby to leave me. Dead silence. I don't know what you're... Thanks for calling, Zach. I hung up before he could finish the sentence. By week 5, I'd stopped counting the days. I was just living. Basketball twice a week. Gym 5 days. Poker night with Kai and some of his electrician buddies every other Thursday. They played for real money. I was terrible at poker. Didn't matter. The conversation was worth the losses. I'd also had the locks changed on Reginald's advice. He had me do it through the property manager, and Abby was notified through the lawyers that she could schedule a supervised pickup anytime. Prevents unauthorized entry and awkward confrontations. Her old key wouldn't work anymore. Neither would Monica's. Warren kept me updated on legal stuff without me having to ask. He had contacts everywhere. Suggested I document any attempts Abby's camp made to contact me. Times, dates, what was said. Could be useful later if she tried to claim I'd abandoned her. The divorce papers were ready. Reginald had everything prepared. Grounds were irreconcilable differences. Asset division was straightforward because I documented everything. No kids meant no custody complications. Clean and simple. I worked out the timing with the process server. Abby worked at a PR firm downtown. Regular hours, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Serving at Monica's apartment risked Monica intercepting it or causing drama that delayed things. The process server had Thursday at 2 p.m. open, so that's when we scheduled it. Then I waited. Thursday at 2:10 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Hartley? Professional voice. Process server confirming delivery. Speaking. Service has been completed. Abby was served at her place of employment at 2:14 p.m. Signed receipt obtained. I thanked him and hung up. Then I leaned back in my chair and waited. It didn't take long. My phone started buzzing at 2:25. Abby's number. I was in the middle of a server migration that had been planned for weeks. Couldn't stop what I was doing to take personal calls. Let it ring out. Another call at 2:30. Then 2:40. Texts started coming through too. Angry messages about the divorce, demanding to know why the locks had been changed on the apartment. I silenced my phone and put it in my desk drawer. The migration took priority. After 1 hour, my office receptionist called my extension. "There's a woman here to see you. She says it's urgent. Do you want me to have her wait, or should I schedule something?" I told her I'd be right out. My building had those open floor plan offices with glass walls everywhere. I could see Abby standing at the reception desk from 30 feet away, makeup smeared, clutching a manila envelope in both hands. A few coworkers glanced up from their desks. She saw me and walked over fast. "What is this?" She held up the envelope, voice tight. "What the heck is this?" "Divorce papers." "I can see that. Why?" I kept my voice calm, low. "You left. You told me not to contact you. You moved in with your friend. I figured the marriage was done. We were on a break. I needed space. You needed space. I gave you 7 weeks of it." Her face twisted. That expression I'd learned to recognize over the years. "You can't just divorce me. We need to talk about this. We need to work through—" "No." The word stopped her cold. "What?" "No, Abby. We don't need to work through anything. You walked out. You told me not to contact you. You had your friend calling me every week telling me what a terrible husband I am. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "This isn't how this was supposed to go. How was it supposed to go?" She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because the answer was obvious. She expected me to chase her. To prove I cared by ignoring her explicit instructions. She expected me to chase. I didn't. "I'm not signing these," she said finally. "You don't have to. If you don't respond, the court moves forward without you." Her eyes went wide. "You talked to a lawyer." "You—" "Several weeks ago, right after you left. I've had time to think, Abby. Time to remember what my life was like before you. Time to realize how much of myself I gave up to keep you happy. And you know what? I want that guy back. I was better than whatever I turned into trying to be your husband." Monica's voice came from behind me. I hadn't even heard her come in. "You're making a huge mistake." Of course Monica was there. She'd driven Abby. I turned. She was standing near the entrance, arms crossed, that familiar contempt on her face. And here's the sidekick. I turned back to Abby. "Did you bring her for emotional support, or because you can't make a decision without running it by her first?" Abby's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "This isn't over," she said. "Yeah, it is. You just haven't figured that out yet. Sign the papers or don't. Either way, this marriage is done." I walked back to my desk. Didn't look back. Had a server migration to finish? Kai called me that evening. "I heard you served her at work," he said. "Warren's paralegal friend knows someone at her firm. Said she left pretty upset after. How do you feel?" "Like I should have done this 2 years ago." "Better late than never, man." Abby didn't go quietly. I didn't expect her to. Within a week of getting served, she'd hired her own attorney. Some aggressive guy named Fletcher, who specialized in nasty divorces. He immediately filed a response contesting everything. Claimed I'd abandoned her emotionally. Claimed I was hiding assets. Claimed the marriage was salvageable, and I was being unreasonable. Warren had seen Fletcher's name come up before at his firm. Not a good sign. The guy liked to drag things out. Reginald wasn't worried. "This is standard," he said. "She's panicking, trying to get control back. But we have receipts. We have 7 weeks of her explicitly telling you not to contact her while she lived with her friend. No judge is going to believe the abandonment argument." The discovery phase took months 2 through 4. They demanded financial records going back 5 years. Bank statements, tax returns, investment accounts, credit card statements, everything. I provided it all. Warren gave me a heads up about what to expect. Said discovery was where most people screwed up. Treat every interaction like it was being recorded for a judge. When Fletcher's team went through our joint accounts looking for evidence that I'd moved money, they found nothing. Every transaction documented. Every deposit explained. Meanwhile, some interesting things surfaced on her side. Turns out Abby had been taking cash back at grocery stores for months. $20 here, $40 there. All categorized as food purchases, but actually building a secret fund. By the time she left, she'd stacked up almost $3,000 in cash that wasn't in any account. Reginald smiled when he found this. "This actually helps us," he said. "She's been planning this for a while, hiding money, building an exit fund. That doesn't look like someone who wanted to save her marriage. There was also the matter of her spending during the separation. She'd been using our joint credit card for spa days, expensive dinners, shopping sprees. Almost $4,000 in 7 weeks. I felt stupid for not closing the joint card sooner. Reginald had told me to wait until he could advise on how to handle it without it looking like financial coercion. We finally froze it at week 5, right before filing. By then, the damage was done, but at least we had documentation of every charge. The deposition was scheduled for month 3. Before that, there was the matter of the apartment. Abby had texted during week 8, asking when she could come get her things. I told her to coordinate with Reginald's office. She didn't like that. Everything went through the lawyers now. She ended up coming with her mom on a Saturday afternoon while I was at basketball. Kai was there, just in case. She took her clothes, her books, the ugly lamp, and a few boxes of random stuff. Left the couch. Probably didn't want the reminder of those 7 seasons of baking shows. When Abby showed up for the deposition with her lawyer and Monica, who was apparently there as emotional support, I wasn't surprised. Reginald objected to her presence. Non-parties weren't allowed in depositions. She had to leave. That was a nice moment. The deposition itself was long and tedious. Abby's lawyer asked me hundreds of questions trying to paint me as controlling and neglectful at the same time. How often did I check her calendar? Why did I have location sharing enabled? Did I ever criticize her friends? I answered everything calmly. Yes, I checked her calendar to plan a surprise dinner. Yes, we had location sharing, because she requested it. No, I never criticized her friends to her face. Though I had opinions I kept to myself like a normal person. When it was Reginald's turn to question Abby, things got interesting. He asked about Monica, how often they talked, what they discussed, whether Monica had ever encouraged her to leave me. She hesitated, looked at her lawyer. Monica has been supportive during a difficult time. That's not what I asked. Did Monica ever encourage you to leave your husband? Another hesitation. She thought I deserved better. And when did she start thinking that? I don't know. A few months ago. Before or after you started taking cash back at grocery stores? Fletcher objected. Reginald withdrew the question, but the point was made. The connection was planted. By month 4, the reality had set in. There were no hidden assets. There was no abuse. There was no abandonment. There was just a woman who'd listened to her toxic friend, walked out on her marriage, and expected her husband to chase her like a desperate fool. And when he didn't, she lost it. Fletcher requested a settlement meeting, wanted to negotiate terms. We met at a neutral conference room downtown. Abby, Fletcher, me, Reginald. No Monica this time. Abby looked tired. The separation wasn't treating her well. Fletcher opened with demands. She wanted the apartment. She wanted 50% of retirement accounts. She wanted spousal support for 2 years. Reginald countered with reality. The apartment was leased, not owned. Retirement accounts were subject to standard division based on contributions during marriage. Spousal support was unlikely given she had a full-time job making decent money. The negotiation went back and forth for 3 hours. Finally, we reached a settlement. She got 40% of the joint savings. I got to keep my full retirement since I'd contributed 90% of it. No spousal support. Clean break. Abby looked at the terms and then looked at me. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it. What happened to you? You used to be so easy to deal with. I stopped letting stuff slide. That version of me wasn't doing either of us any favors. She signed the papers. Month 5, it was finalized. I celebrated by taking a vacation day and going surfing with Warren. He'd been teaching me for the past 2 months. I was terrible at it, wiped out more than I stood up, but the terrible part was starting to become less terrible. We sat on our boards in the lineup, waiting for sets, and he asked how I felt. Lighter, I said. A wave came through. Warren caught it, rode it almost to shore. Showed off with a little cutback at the end. The man was annoyingly good at everything athletic, like someone gave him cheat codes for sports. When he paddled back out, he had news. Heard through the paralegal grapevine that Monica and Zach broke up. The finance guy. Apparently, he got tired of being used as a messenger boy in someone else's marriage drama. They had a fight about boundaries and how she was always sticking her nose in other people's business instead of focusing on their relationship. He bounced. Couldn't say I felt bad about that. There's more, Warren said. Monica apparently blamed Abby for the breakup. Said if Abby had just handled her own marriage, none of this would have happened. They had a huge falling out. How bad? Abby had to find somewhere else to stay. Ended up back at her mom's place. I let that sink in for a moment. The woman who'd spent months poisoning my marriage turned around and blamed my ex-wife when things fell apart on her end. Karma, I said. What goes around? A month after the divorce was final, I got a call from an unknown number. Almost didn't answer. Hello, it's Beth, Abby's mom. I waited, said nothing. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for how everything happened, for my daughter's behavior, for that Monica putting ideas in her head for months, for all of it. Wasn't expecting that. I appreciate you saying that, Beth. Abby's back living with me now. The company she was at went through layoffs last month, and her team got hit. She's starting to see a lot of things she should have seen before. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Fair question. Part of me is. We were married for 3 years. I don't want bad things to happen to her. But she made choices. Choices have consequences. Long pause on the line. We said awkward goodbyes. 2 months after the divorce, I got the promotion at work. Senior network architect. 40% raise. Corner office. Team of 6 reporting to me. Kai threw a party at his place to celebrate. Warren came. Some guys from basketball. A few co-workers. Kai's electrician crew. We grilled steaks in the backyard. Someone brought a speaker and played music that no one complained about. People laughed and told stories. Later that night, Warren pulled me aside. Remember that paralegal friend I mentioned? She said Abby tried to file for modification of the divorce decree last week. Wanted to reopen the asset division. Claimed she'd been under duress when she signed. I raised an eyebrow. You're joking. Got shut down fast. Showing up with your own attorney and negotiating for 3 hours doesn't count as duress. The motion didn't go anywhere. 3 months after the divorce, I was at a coffee shop in the Arts District on a Sunday morning, editing photos on my laptop. Someone sat at the next table. I glanced up. Abby. She looked thinner, tired, hair shorter than before. She saw me and froze for a second. Then she came over. Hey, can I sit? I gestured to the empty chair. She sat, looked at me, then looked at her hands. Awkward silence for a moment. I wanted to apologize, she said finally, for leaving the way I did, for the things I said, for letting Monica get in my head, for the motion last month. All of it. I nodded, said nothing. I thought I was so smart, thought you'd come running after me and I'd have all this power and leverage. And when you didn't? She trailed off, shook her head. It messed me up. She looked down at her coffee. I know we can't go back. I'm not asking for that. I just wanted you to know I get it now. What I lost. What I threw away. I let that sit for a moment. Felt the weight of it. I appreciate you saying that. I mean it. Are you happy? Yeah, I said. I really am. She nodded, eyes getting a little watery. Good. You deserve that. I mean it. She stood to leave. Paused at the table. For what it's worth, I think about what could have been. If I'd just talked to you instead of listening to Monica, we might have made it. Maybe. We'll never know now. No, we won't. She walked out. Didn't look back. I went back to editing my photos. A shot from last weekend at the waterfront. Golden hour light hitting the water just right. Warren texted about a pickup game that afternoon. Later that evening, sitting on my balcony watching the sunset, I thought about everything that had happened. She wanted space. I gave it to her. Gave it to myself too. She expected me to chase. I didn't. Some people learn too late that when you tell someone to back off, they might actually do it. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.